Hello everyone, this is R.S. Miller at the endtimenews.org, and today is April 29th, 2012. This is a special report. The public has been lied to by the officials concerning the dangers of the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear disaster that occurred in March of 2011. Radiation is continuously escaping from the facility and into the environment. The information contained in this video is extremely important. I would suggest that you watch it in its entirety.
In the rest of the news, more bad news coming from the crippled Fukushima nuclear plant in Japan. While speaking to Swiss lawmakers last month, Japan's former ambassador to Switzerland, Mitsui Murata, warned that if the building housing Reactor 4 at that plant at Fukushima were to collapse, as many officials fear might happen, it would lead to a global catastrophe like the world has never seen before.
Thanks for joining us. Do they have control of the situation at the site?
No. It's still a ticking time bomb. Realize that after the big Sumatra tsunami, 90 days after, 3 months after that, there was a huge aftershock. If they have another aftershock, and they're not in cold shutdown yet till next year, the accident could start all over again. It's like hanging by your fingernails. Yeah, it's stable, but you're hanging by your fingernails.
Americans think this crisis is over, or that some even think that maybe it's solved or it's contained. It's not. What's happening right now?
In the last 2 weeks, everything we knew about that accident has been turned upside down. We were told 3 partial meltdowns, don't worry about it. Now we know it was 100% core melt in all 3 reactors. Radiation, minimal that was released. Now we know it was comparable to the radiation at Chernobyl. And as far as evacuation, 12 miles, that's it. You don't have to evacuate beyond 12 miles. Now they find hotspots, 4 hotspots outside the evacuation zone. 34,000 school children now have radiation badges when they go to school.
Kindergartners with radiation badges.
Down to 4 years of age. Can you imagine that? Kindergarten kids with radiation badges going to school. So all the mythology of the accident has been turned upside down because utility has finally fessed up to how severe this accident really was.
In your view, did they not know how bad it was, or they knew and they didn't tell, or they just were completely blown away by the scope of the disaster?
I'm a physicist, and we tried to reconstruct the accident in our computers given the feeble amount of information they gave us. We knew it was much more severe than they were saying because radiation was coming out left and right. So, in other words, they lied to us. They knew how much radiation was coming out. They knew the danger. They knew how much core melting was taking place, but they tried to put a happy face on it.
In Chernobyl, over 20,000 people have developed thyroid cancer. They have to have their thyroids out, and they will die unless they take thyroid replacement every day, like a diabetic has to take insulin. Strontium-90 will get out. It lasts for 600 years. It goes to the bone where it causes bone cancer or leukemia. Cesium lasts for 600 years. It's all over Europe. 40% of Europe is still radioactive. Turkish food is extremely radioactive. Do not buy Turkish dried apricots. Do not buy Turkish hazelnuts or dried... the Turks were so cross with the Russians, they sent all their radioactive tea over to Russia after Chernobyl. But 40% of Europe is still radioactive. Farms in Britain, their lambs are so full of cesium they can't sell them. Don't eat European food. But that's nothing compared to what's happening now. One of the most deadly is plutonium, named after Pluto, god of the underworld. 1 millionth of a gram, if you inhale it, will give you cancer. Hypothetically, 1 pound, if evenly distributed, could give everyone on Earth cancer. Each reactor has 250 kilos of plutonium in it, kilograms. You only need 2.5 kilograms to make a bomb, because plutonium is what they make bombs with. It's the only country that has a reactor. From your uranium, you are the biggest exporters of uranium in the world, Cameco. Canada sells 2 things. It sells wheat for life and uranium for death. Right? Plutonium is going to get out and spread all over the northern hemisphere, and it's already heading towards North America now. plus radioactive iodine-129, its half-life is 17 million years, plus strontium, plus cesium, plus tritium, and I could go on and on and on. When it rains, down comes fallout, and it concentrates in food. If it gets into the sea, the algae concentrated hundreds of times, then the crustaceans concentrated hundreds of times, then the little fish, then the big fish, then us. Because we stand on the apex of the food chain. You can't taste these radioactive elements, you can't see them, and you can't smell them. They're silent. When you get them inside your body, you don't suddenly drop dead of cancer. It takes 5 to 60 years to get your cancer. And when a cancer, if you feel a lump in your breast, doesn't say, I was made by some strontium-90 you ate in a piece of fish 20 years ago. All radiation is damaging. It's cumulative. Each dose you get adds to your risk of getting cancer. With americium, that's more dangerous than plutonium. I mean, I could go on and on. Depends if it rains, if you're going to get it or not. If it rains and the radiation comes down, don't grow food, don't eat the food, and I mean don't eat it for 600 years. The radioactive waste from nuclear power is going to be buried, I hear, just like next to Lake Ontario. It's going to leak, last for millions of years, it's going to get into the water, into the food chains. Radioactive waste will induce epidemics of cancer, leukemia, and genetic disease for the rest of time. This is the greatest public health hazard the world has ever witnessed, apart from the threat every day of nuclear war. Einstein said the splitting of the atom changed everything save man's mode of thinking. Very profound. Thus we drift towards unparalleled catastrophe. We are arrogant, we have a lot of hubris, and I think the reptilian midbrain of some men's brains is pathological. We are now in a situation where we have harnessed the energy of the sun. It is totally out of control, and there's simply nothing we can do about it.
The situation is far graver than we are being led to believe. The evidence of the severity of this disaster is in the fact that the Japanese government would even consider a plan to evacuate 40 million of its citizens to a disputed territory outside the country. To compound the matter, reactor building number 4 is in danger of collapsing. As reported in an earlier segment of this video, the reactor building houses spent fuel rods that are kept cool in a pool of water. If it were to evaporate off or to leak out, the fuel rods would continue the nuclear reaction process and melt down. Ladies and gentlemen, do you think that the governments of the world would notify the general population in advance of an event that could well end all life on the planet's surface? Or would they secretly prepare underground bunkers for the rich and powerful in an effort to ride out the approaching devastation? Jesse Ventura did a program that aired on True TV where he attempted to shed light on the 2012 end of the world scenario. You guys can watch the video for yourselves, but I wanted to point out that supposedly there is a bunker under the Denver airport. One of the eerie factors about it is the murals painted on the walls. Images of children dying, trees burning, and overall, a sense of life on Earth coming to an end. Is this something you would like to see while waiting for a flight at an airport? It appears to me, and a lot of other people, that world governments are quietly preparing for end-time events, and they are doing their best not to let the cat out of the bag. Speaking of the Denver airport, is it a coincidence that Russian troops are coming to America in May of this year to conduct military drills with U.S. soldiers? And is it a coincidence that part of that anti-terrorism training will be conducted at the Denver airport? You be the judge. Folks, when I was in school, I was taught that 1 + 1 = 2 and 2 + 2 = 4. If that is the case, then what does 3 Mile Island plus Chernobyl plus Fukushima equal? 28,613 dead fish in the Rocky River. Dead birds fall from the sky in Sweden. Millions of dead fish found in Maryland, Brazil, New Zealand. Up to 100,000 fish found dead along Arkansas River. Jersey Shore. Dead fish wash ashore in thousands for second time this week on East Coast. Hundreds of thousands of dead fish surface in Redondo Beach, California. Thousands of dead fish wash ashore in Florida. Dolphins dying by the thousands in Peru. Unusual number of dead seals washing up on Cape Town beaches. 200 dead cows found in Wisconsin. Overeating and indigestion blamed for 1,000 turtle doves falling dead in Italy with strange blue stain on their beaks. Epizootic hemorrhagic disease devastates white-tailed deer, bighorn, pronghorn populations in eastern Montana and North Dakota. The Bible tells us in Hosea chapter 4, "Hear the word of the Lord, you children of Israel." And I'm adding that this applies to all of us. For the Lord brings a charge against the inhabitants of the land. There is no truth or mercy or knowledge of God in the land. By swearing and lying, killing and stealing, and committing adultery, they break all restraint, with bloodshed after bloodshed. Therefore the land will mourn, and everyone who dwells there will waste away. With the beasts of the field and the birds of the air, even the fish of the sea will be taken away. Friends, 1 + 1 = 2. Radiation in the water, air, and working its way into the food chain. Rivers and seas turning to poison. Pollutions turning the atmosphere into a concoction of toxic chemicals and acid rain. Massive earthquakes that tilt the earth on its axis and cause tsunamis that kill hundreds of thousands of people. Changing weather patterns, devastating tornadoes, hurricanes, floods, and droughts. Insect infestations of biblical proportions that destroy huge amounts of the food supply, while at the same time, Earth's population has reached the 7 billion people mark. Wars and rumors of wars. The threat of World War III looming over our heads, which is about to begin in the Middle East. New and unheard of diseases, along with a resurgence of diseases that in days gone by wreaked havoc on the human population. Only this time they are far more resistant to drugs. Then we have strange and unusual sounds happening around the world. Birds falling out of the sky, fish, seals, dolphins, and more are dying in the seas and rivers. It doesn't matter whether these disasters are man-made or of so-called natural causes. The planet is dying. And let us not forget that Noah's flood was also a natural event. Are you saved? Follow the link and pray the prayer with a sincere heart, and you will be saved. God bless you all.